This is what an average McDonald's looks like in Puerto Rico, but the menu here is a little different than the mainland US. Puerto Rico is filled with stateside chains, so you may be surprised at what I find at a few of them. First up is of course McDonald's. The unique item that I saw here first was the criollo sandwich. It's basically just a bacon, egg, and cheese, and they have a couple other options, but they have criollo bread, which is basically Puerto Rican bread that's a little sweeter and a little softer than the bread you typically find in the States. The criollo sandwich meal will set you back about $4.89, and that includes a drink and hash brown. The criollo sandwich itself is made with pan criollo, aka Puerto Rican bread, American cheese, bacon, and egg. Let's dig in. So I was born in Puerto Rico and have lived in the US for most of my life and come back a lot. This sandwich tastes pretty typical, but maybe a little better than the type of sandwiches I usually eat on the island. I actually saw them cracking eggs in the back as opposed to the vat of eggs I usually see in the stateside McDonald's. I also want to give a shout out to my brother Jadiel, who's my fellow taste tester today. He's never left Puerto Rico.
It's actually really good. Better than breakfast I had.
Some other unique items on the menu include the criollo jamon, which is a ham sandwich, a criollo salchicha, which is a sandwich with sausage, other criollo sandwich items but with scrambled eggs, butter on toast, and bread with melted cheese. Next up is a chain where you can eat fresh. So I was really surprised to find out that in Puerto Rico you can actually get pizza at a Subway, which I feel like is opposite of what you need when you're on a diet, and that's what Subway tries to do with like their advertising and stuff. But apparently they have a pizza, and here it is. The Subway pepperoni pizza will set you back about $7.59, and the ingredients are pretty simple. You have your bread crust, tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. I've been to a lot of Subways within the States, and I've never seen a pizza, so let's try it. I'm a big pizza guy and have no problem spending $20 on a good pie, so I was shocked at how good this pizza was for such a low price. It's a decent sized pizza, and this is a shot of the lady who took my order dumping a pile of cheese onto the pie. My mouth was open at how much cheese there was. I went to another location for the same pizza, and again, there was no shortage of cheese. The pizza is absolutely delicious, and I'm no food critic, but I'll give it a solid 9.6 out of 10. No rookie scores here.
I would come here every day if this was near my house.
I was also surprised to learn they make pasta at the Subway here in Puerto Rico. I didn't have room for it, but here are the employees cooking away. I'm pretty sad stateside Subways don't have these options, but maybe it's for the best. Here's what my brother thought.
Very cheesy, but still good.
Next up, we're paying a visit to Colonel Sanders. Here's a quick look at the menu here. Feel free to pause or screenshot for a closer look. It's basically the same as stateside KFC's, except for the prominence of a PR staple. I got the famous criollo bowl, which is basically a bowl with rice, beans, and fried chicken, which is pretty staple for here in Puerto Rico. It's basically every meal I had as a kid had rice, beans, and chicken, and then some other side. The famous criollo bowl meal costs about $10.36 and comes with a drink and a biscuit, or as they say here on the island, biscuit. The bowl itself has white rice, a red bean stew, which is traditionally made with a cooking base known as sofrito, which I'll talk about later, and of course fried chicken. Alrighty, after the first second of the first bite, I already taste the comforts of home. You can't really go wrong with this type of meal. It's simple but delicious and packed with flavor thanks to those beans. Fun fact, in Puerto Rico we use a lot of English words, but with a Spanish accent, like the biscuit or biscuit. Here's a not so fun fact. Fast food prices in Puerto Rico are usually on par with stateside ones, even though the average wage here is much lower. Here's one last look at the menu for those who missed it. Up next is another chicken chain, which is my brother's absolute favorite. Here's a quick look at their menu, and again, it's not much different, but there's one item that caught my eye and I was dying to try it. Alright, so we got a biscuit ice cream here. I think it's just what it sounds like. A biscuit with some ice cream, but it's like the hard chocolate covered kind, so I like that. The biscuit ice cream costs about $2.78 and its ingredients are pretty simple. You got your ice cream, they had chocolate and vanilla, your biscuit, and your hard chocolate shell. The chocolate shell is what really put this creation over the top. I always got that as a kid. Here on the island, it gets pretty hot, especially over the summer, so treats like this are super common in Puerto Rico. You'd be hard pressed not to find a business that sells ice cream or frappes in the summer. Anywho, I didn't think I would like the biscuit ice cream, but there's just something really good about the sweetness of the ice cream with the salty / buttery biscuit at the bottom. Not bad. Not bad. My apologies, I didn't get a shot of the biscuit that's all the way at the bottom, but I promise it is there. Up next, we're treating ourselves to Wendy's. Here's a shaky video of the menu if you want to take a gander. So for the next item today, we have the sorullitos. These are absolutely my favorite thing on earth. This is basically cornmeal and water, butter, flour, potentially. My grandma made these all the time growing up, and it takes a little work, so I don't really make it myself as an adult anymore. They're basically the Puerto Rican version of the hush puppy. But these guys are my absolute favorite, and I can't believe Wendy's has these here. I'd probably be getting them every day, if they had them back in the mainland. An order of sorullitos or sorullos will cost you about $2.19. Wendy's doesn't have all of their ingredients for it online, so I looked up a traditional recipe which includes water, butter, sugar, salt, cornmeal, and cheese as an optional filling. With the dipping sauce, you have to dip it in mayo ketchup. I mean, you don't have to, but that's very typical. So even in Wendy's here, they have mayo ketchup as a side. So that tells you how important and how crucial it is for the sorullo. So full disclosure, this is my second time going into Wendy's today because my camera failed the first time. Earlier in the day, I tried these and they were actually pretty darn good, but I guess these were left out for a little too long. I'm a little disappointed. These aren't like grandma used to make. Either way, that kind of sucks if you're taking a gamble every time you're ordering these. The taste here was just kind of off. They tasted stale and with barely any flavor. I even tried another, but yeah, no, these were not it. The mayo ketchup was fine. You can't really go wrong with that though. I'm a little disappointed, but the nostalgia's there, the taste is kind of there. I'll just ask my grandma for some. Up next, we're at the home of the king. Here's a quick look at the menu. I got a sandwich that has a combination of 3 meats. It's called a tripleta. And I looked it up and it's basically 3 different kinds of meat from a pig. So, should be pretty good. The tripleta will set you back about $7 and its ingredients are pan criollo, again, Puerto Rican bread, pork roast, ham, bacon, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, ketchup, and shoestring potato. So yeah, tripletas are actually super popular in Puerto Rico. I've never had one. My mom never made me any growing up. But yeah, 3 meats. I always see signs for this type of sandwich whenever I'm driving, and now I see the appeal. There's a lot of flavor in just one bite. I do think it's pretty unique how there's 3 different types of meat from a pig in one frickin' sandwich. Other than this, the menu is fairly standard at Burger King. Okay, so full disclosure again, I actually spit out the sandwich, but it's not because of the flavor. I'm kind of picky in my eating habits and came across a thick piece of meat in the sandwich, and I am not a fan of thick cuts. But I promise, I did like the flavors. Here's what my brother thought.
Tastes as expected. In my opinion.
Plausible. Now I shall be taking you guys to a fast food chain on the island that's a hotspot for the locals. Here at Pollo Tropical, you'll find all types of traditional Puerto Rican meals. There's a bunch of these restaurants across Florida and Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, there are 0 where I live in California. I chatted with a manager who told me that while the chain was founded in Miami, these restaurants have a ton of island-inspired flavors. Okay, so here's a quick rundown of what I got here today with my brother. You would not believe our to-go boxes. We got the asopao, arroz con pechuga, amarillos, we got the mofongo, the pernil, the tostones. Oh man, we basically had a giant sampler plate. I know it's a lot. Alright, now before we get into it, the manager told me a lot of the meals here today were made using all-purpose seasonings like adobo, which is exactly what most homes on the island use. The restaurant also uses sofrito as a base for most of their meats and stews, which again is pretty standard. Puerto Rican sofrito varies, but usually has a combination of blended peppers, onion, garlic, cilantro, and other ingredients. Alright, so we're going to start off with the classic, which is the arroz con gandules and pernil, or the rice and peas with slow roasted pork. The arroz con pernil will cost you about $5, which is an amazing deal. I've been to restaurants where they charge me about $20 for this, and it's not nearly as good. The ingredients again are pretty simple. You got your pernil or pork roast, and your rice with pigeon peas. Dang, look at that steam go. This is the kind of meal you normally find at any Puerto Rican gathering or holiday like Christmas or Thanksgiving. I have so many memories of eating this, and the fact that it's only $5 makes me sad I don't live around here. Yeah, the pork is like perfectly slow cooked. Now we're moving on to my mom's favorite dish, the pincho. It's basically like a shish kebab that we have this a lot of times during the holidays. And it's pretty traditional Puerto Rican, but obviously it's also like a Turkish / Middle Eastern tradition. This is our kind of spin on it. Do I know what's the difference? No, but here's the pincho. The pincho costs about $5 and the ingredients include marinated barbecue chicken that was cooked on a grill, green and red peppers, and 2 slices of bread. The type of bread on the skewers usually varies as to what's available. The pincho was absolutely delicious. I mean, generally grilled chicken is an absolute winner for me each time, but this chicken had the perfect blend of flavors. Also, the fact that this is cheap fast food is still a little mind-blowing. Up next is the bistec encebollado, or the stewed cube steak with onions. This dish costs $4.89 and is made with stewed cube steak, onions, white rice, and a side of beans. Again, not a bad price. So as I started eating this, I totally forgot to add beans to my meal, which it comes with. The bistec was pretty tender and nicely seasoned, although nothing to write home about. My mom made this at least once a month growing up, but a different version. She stewed it with tomato sauce and other flavors instead of just onions. Not bad. My brother said his school serves this, so let's see what he thinks.
How does it compare to your school's bite?
This school one's better.
The school one's better? Alright, so not as good?
In the steak's defense, it was left sitting out for a bit, so it wasn't as fresh. Up next is a true Puerto Rican staple that has origins on the island. This beautiful creation is called a mofongo. I ordered it with pernil, which again is slow roasted pork. It costs $6, and mofongo is typically made with unripe plantains, garlic, and pork rinds. So before eating the mofongo, I covered it with mayo ketchup sauce, which is purely optional, and I'm not even sure if people do it regularly, but to me it makes it taste so good. I can't stress enough at how good this was. Alright, listen, I'm no food critic or professional, but this is one of the best foods the island has to offer. If you guys haven't tried this ever, I suggest going to your local Puerto Rican restaurant and ordering this ASAP. The only thing I can compare this to is mashed potato, but even then, it's nothing like that because mashed potato is more of a bland food. The fact that this is paired up with some delicious pernil puts it over the top. Earlier this week, I went to a fast food place that specializes in mofongo, so that's how you know these guys are popular.
It's almost like a potato, like a mashed potato, but a little harder and like different saltier kind of flavor. It's really good.
Up next, we're going back to basics with a pechuga tropical meal. This will set you back $10.38, although my receipt looks wonky, so don't quote me on the price. The ingredients again are pretty simple. You got your grilled chicken, you got your white rice, and the bean stew. I mentioned this before, but this is what folks here on the island usually eat. Rice, beans, and chicken is just a simple meal that you can make pretty quickly, and it's usually pretty cheap, although meat costs these days are getting a little out of control. So this particular meal wasn't my favorite, but I'm pretty sure it's because as I go on, these meals are just sitting out for a little longer, and things are getting a little cold and a little dry. So this one right here isn't great, but it could be more my fault. So here's my brother trying this meal. This is actually what he eats a lot of at home, so he really doesn't have any words. Now we're moving on to the fried food trifecta. Fried food in PR is also known as fritura, and these are usually served as sides to most meals. First up, we have the amarillo, or fried yellow plantain. These three sides cost $2.39 each, and their ingredients are themselves, duh. The amarillo, which is Spanish for yellow, is my least favorite fritura, but I still gladly eat it. I've had these in Mexico, but they usually serve it with a sweet sauce. In Puerto Rico, we don't eat them with anything. In case you're wondering, the difference between fried yellow and fried green plantain is how ripe it is when cooked. The riper it is, the more yellow and sweeter it will be. Alright, up next are tostones. These are twice fried green plantains. They take a little bit of work to make. I try to find them in LA. They're not everywhere. Apparently, they're not super popular in California, at least the green ones. But I try to make an effort to make these as much as I can. It reminds me of home. Obviously, I gotta add some mayo ketchup, which makes everything taste better. Honestly, these weren't great, but they had been sitting out due to this video for a little too long, so again, my bad. Up next is the fried yuca, aka fried cassava. Or is it cassava? I've actually never tried these. Like I said before, I'm pretty picky, but I'll do anything for you guys. These are actually pretty good. If I had to describe the taste, it would be similar to either breadfruit or maybe even something like sweet potato fries. I feel like I've been missing out on these because I like them a lot. Here's what my brother thought.
Alright, so you've never tried them before? How do they taste?
It's like just a little bit sweet.
Is it good with the mayo ketchup?
Yeah.
Up next is the asopao. This one is basically an entire meal of rice with chicken drowning in soup, which is actually a little funny when I freeze it that way. This is the type of meal you eat when it's a little cold outside, or maybe when you're feeling sick, or if you're just looking to make a comfort meal. The asopao de pollo costs $4.69 and includes chicken broth, white rice, chicken, peppers, olives, and a bunch of other flavorful stuff. This is the kind of meal my grandma used to eat when we went out because she basically has no teeth, and everything in this soup is pretty tender. Man, I just realized I'll probably do the same when I get older. Whew, that's way too much to tell you guys. Y'all, I've been missing out on this. Honestly, the concept doesn't sound super appealing, but after tasting this, I can say this is a certified banger. There's a lot of chicken flavor, and that's what really does it for me. So that's it for this video, and if you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment letting us know what you want to try from this video first. Also, if you have any cool video ideas, let us know as well. If you made it this far into the video, leave a Puerto Rican flag emoji in the comments. Also, here's some more food.
And there's gonna be voiceover.